everybody, my name is Catherine and welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to give you all a story time video about one of the times I traveled with Contiki, and I found my also Contiki shirt from this trip, which I thought was fun and fitting, so I put it on in spirit of traveling with them. So if you don't know, Contiki is basically a young adult travel company. If you want to go on a trip somewhere and you want to go on a tour, you want things planned out for you, I wanted to talk about today my experience going to a Russia/Scandinavia Contiki trip. So I went on this tour in summer of 2017, so a few years ago, a few years before the pandemic, all of that, and I went with one of my best friends from childhood. I am Russian American. My parents immigrated to the States a little bit before I was born. I've grown up in the States and have lived here my whole life, other than spending a few months abroad in Australia, which I also did a video about. But I'm very American, but I am a child of Russian immigrants. And so growing up, I've been very much so influenced by Russian culture. I've been to Russia plenty of times and the surrounding like former USSR countries. My family right now lives in Belarus, so I've been there a lot. When we went on this trip, I thought like, I don't know, this is gonna be kind of weird because like I'm Russian, but I'm going on like a tour group to Russia. And my friend had this idea to basically not tell anyone that I'm a Russian American and to just kind of see their reactions, because Russia doesn't have the best reputation when it comes to a lot of Western countries. This tour was filled with people from the US, from Canada, from Australia, and then a few people from like New Zealand and England, maybe a few other countries in Western Europe. So they had no filter when it came to talking to me or people around me about their thoughts about going into Russia. And it was definitely very, very interesting. So this tour started in Scandinavia, and my friend wanted to specifically go to the roots of where her grandparents grew up. And so we had a few days that we added to our trip prior to go around in Sweden or so and do that. And then we started the tour in Scandinavia, went through Scandinavia, and then got into Russia. We first started in St. Petersburg, and then we kind of went down to Moscow, made a few pit stops along the way. When we entered St. Petersburg, in each city, when you go on a Contiki trip, you have a tour guide, and she got on the tour bus, and a lot of people in my tour group were hesitant and kind of afraid of being in Russia. Oh, I should also backtrack if you don't know of Contiki. So what you do is, how it works is that there's a bus, and then there's the bus driver that stays with you usually most of the time, and then you have your Contiki trip manager who works for Contiki, is there the whole time, is helping make sure and run everything and basically leading the tour. And then in each city you get a tour guide that's specifically an expert in that city, because your trip manager who works for Contiki isn't going to be an expert on every single city you go to. And they also usually try to have the tour guides be native to that country as well. So for this one, we had our tour guide, and she got on board, and she was so sweet. She was so energetic, so friendly, so happy, like the complete opposite with what you generally think Russian people act like. And that, hearing people on the tour at the end of the trip saying how shocked they were to see that, was definitely really refreshing, because obviously stereotypes are there for a reason, but it's not, you know, a country's not going to be that stereotype like 100%. And I loved her so much. She was so refreshing. And we were first on the bus, and then we went, and basically St. Petersburg is like the Venice of the north, and so it's filled with lots of canals, and it's so beautiful and gorgeous. If you can go one day, I highly recommend it. But in order to canal tours, you go under a lot of bridges, because all these canals go through like the middle of the city. And so every time we went under a bridge, she would like scream on the top of her lungs and like act so extra. But you know, that made sure that everyone ducked their heads, so that you wouldn't hit your head on the bridge, because that would not be good. Then we got to Moscow. I'm trying to remember the exact point when people started finding out that I could speak Russian, but I think it was in Moscow. So basically with these Contiki trips, you get some of the time that's booked with tours that you have something to do, it's planned out, and then you also have free time. So it's a really nice balance between everything. We had something like booked, but then right after we had free time for lunch. So oftentimes Contiki people will ask the trip manager, because typically they go to these cities all the time for work. It's like rotation. And also the tour guide, like recommendations for lunch. People asked for recommendations, and one of them was kind of like it was like a little indoor food court, but it was all like under one thing. So it was like one big open restaurant, but they had different stations that you could go to for different types of foods. Apparently I was ordering food or something, and then someone overheard me ordering food, and they were like, wait, you know, you can speak the language? And then it just like, then once someone knew, they told other people, and they told other people. So not like anyone was mad or anything, but it was just kind of fun to have like that experiment a little bit, to just see everyone's reactions to Russia without saying anything pretty much. But then towards the end I did help people out if they needed help. I wasn't going to be like, no, I'm not going to translate for you. So that was a lot of fun. There was also points where my friend, like a random side tangent, my friend was like, I don't need your help right now translating. I can order Starbucks coffee. I can do this. Like, this was, I think, in St. Petersburg. She's like, I'll order Starbucks coffee and not need your help. And I was like, okay. And so I ordered mine first, and then I went to sit down. She ordered hers and was fine. And then I look over and she's at like the end where you pick up the drinks, and I just see her going like this. And I was just like, what are you doing? I realized what she was asking for was milk. She was asking for milk, so she was trying to do the cow udder whatever motion, because they had the milk behind the counter versus like out by like the napkins or whatever. The guy, I could tell, that was making the drinks, like he felt so bad for not understanding her, and he wanted to so badly, but he was just like, what does this mean? I just like go up to the counter and I'm like, moloko. She wants moloko, like она хочет молоко, which is milk in Russian. And I remember there's this day, they have this street called like the Irobot Street, and it's a very popular street to just walk down, shop around, window shop, eat at restaurants. They have like performers in the streets and whatnot. And we went to this restaurant, and it was like, these Contiki trips sometimes have quite a bit of people. It'll go anywhere from like 30 to like 40 people on average, and I want to say like between 10 to 15 people were in our group, and we went all to go eat. And this was not a planned thing with the tour guide or whatever. It was just like our free time to go and have lunch wherever we wanted. And because everyone knew I knew Russian and the waitress didn't know English, I had to order everyone's meals. So literally, like, I had to go down the line and like point to people and be like, you know, in Russian, she's gonna have the Siberian pelmeni, she's gonna have this salad, she's gonna have piroshki, they're gonna have this. And it just was getting like a lot, and they understood it was a lot and felt bad, but I'm glad I could help. But definitely things like that were a little bit complicated. After we were in Russia, we veered west and we went into Belarus, which is where my family is living and from. I'm Russian and Belarusian, and I thought that was going to be a really interesting time, because a lot of Americans don't even know what Belarus is, let alone like have been there. And we were in Minsk, the capital, for like a day, literally just an evening, enough to get a tour and then spend the night. It was like a stopover kind of, because we were on our way to Poland from Russia. And I don't remember what holiday it was, but it was some holiday where everybody was dressed the same, and I don't even remember what they were dressed as. I feel like there were stripes involved. I don't know if I'm just making that up. And I remember people thinking like, this is the weirdest, most random country I've ever been to. They were so confused, and I didn't even know what the holiday was. And I was just as confused as them, and it was so weird, because it's like, I was going to go after the tour ended back to Belarus to spend a few weeks there, because literally my entire family other than my parents and I lived there. But then after Belarus, we went to Poland, and then you had the option to end in Poland or like drive to Germany. And I think my friend and I did end off in Germany. She flew back home and I flew to Belarus. But I kind of just wanted to talk about one of my experiences on Contiki, and I hope it wasn't too scatterbrained. And it was also just hard because it was 4 years ago. At the end of the trip, we're able to give commentary about what we liked, what we didn't like, our favorite parts, what we were surprised by. And it was interesting because most everybody said their favorite country out of all of them. And remember, like, there was Poland, some went to Germany, Belarus, Russia, and like multiple countries within Scandinavia, Norway, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, all of those. And almost everybody said their favorite was Russia, and that they didn't expect it. They said, some of them even said, I wouldn't have gone to Russia except it was part of the tour, so they kind of felt forced to going there. Some people said they were more excited about Scandinavia. They didn't really, Russia was like a secondary thought to them. Some people were afraid to go to Russia, and everyone was just so surprised because it just, what comes down to it is just the Russian government and the US government and just all of the country governments. They have, you know, all of this political banter going on, and, you know, Russia and US aren't the best of friends at all, and there's a lot of tension going on between the two, which everyone knows. But you can't let the tension between two government systems dictate how you think about the entire country and the people of that country, which I think is an important note and lesson to remember. And that so many people, when we went there, all these people from the United States, Australia, Western Europe, they were so surprised at how welcoming and nice all these people were in Russia. Even if there were language barriers, they experienced nothing but kindness, and I just thought that that was something that just was so special and made me so happy, because I'm just kind of tired of all these stereotypes. Like, you won't, like, all the time when people hear that I'm Russian, they like say, like, is your family, are they spies and the mafia, like all of this stuff. I'm really glad that more people got to just see the real side of Russia, and they said they're gonna go back home and like tell their friends and family, like, don't judge a place and don't judge these people based on what you see on the news. And I think that was just really incredible. So I even, shortly after my trip, ended up writing a blog post about my experience, which I will link down in the description box so you can read it. Basically, Contiki has a blog site. I think it's called like 62 off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember. And you can actually send in like different articles that you write, or pictures that you've taken, or videos you've produced, just whatever it may be. But the most popular is like blog articles. And if they like it enough, they will post it on their website and on their social medias. So they liked my piece enough and thought it was unique enough. So I've definitely done other Contiki trips. I've done one, my most recent one in 2019 was around the Middle East, and I've done more European trips as well, and I've done one in Australia too. So yeah, that was my experience with my Contiki trip in Russia, and I wanted to show you the back of my shirt because it says all the different cities that we went to in Russian, which I think is cool. So I'm just gonna turn around and show you guys. Yeah, so you can see all the different tours or cities that we did. I have to turn around to read them. But the first one says Helsinki in Russian, and then the second one says St. Petersburg. Novgorod is the third one. Moskva or Moscow is the fourth one. Minsk, which is where my family lives, is the fifth one. Warsaw or Warszawa in Poland is the last one. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this story time. If you want to hear about any other story times that I have with Contiki, please let me know down below. Also, make sure to check out my blog article if you want to read more about it. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.